Oh, it's back to the fun. It's race time and Heat 3A of Unlimited Hydro Boat Racing. Take a look at some of those boats already out on the water. Taking their time, kind of scoring up. There's the Graham, the Qatar is out there. Those two have had some pretty good battles. And we show you the boats that will be on the water for 3A. Here they are, the Miss Fox Plumbing, Acura of Bellevue, Miss Peterson May, Spirit of Qatar, second place just a few minutes ago, earlier today. They need to get something going here. Graham Trucking, Seattle Suntan, Sound Propeller Service, and oh boy, Alberto. This one is stacked. These are the boats, Unlimited Racing, Heat 3A.
Heat 3A of the Albert Lee Cup is brought to you by Bosch and Thermador. Bosch and Thermador not only bring you this heat of racing, but also bring you heat in the kitchen with superior performance, engineered quality, and made in America pride. And it's presented for Seafair by Tulalip Resort Casino. Indulge in the luxury and excitement of Tulalip Resort Casino.
Your starter clock brought to you by J.P. Morgan Chase, a proud sponsor of Seafair. Chase, making it easy for your personal and business banking needs to start and to run strong. So taking a look at the conditions on the water right now, 81 degrees. The wind's picking up just a little bit, but still fairly calm out there. And now this is where they start that process of slowing almost to a complete stop so they can get themselves into position for the start. Let's take a look at the drivers in this Heat 3A. Here they are. Greg Hopp, he's a veteran. He can drive just about anything. He's in the Miss Fox Plumbing right here. And we go to Lee Stoll in the pits. Chris Francis, I beg your pardon. Chris.
Thank you, Steve. Yeah, talking about Jimmy Shane in the Graham Trucking. Of course, he won the last heat. They fixed that ignition switch that wouldn't go off, and you're talking about these boats getting beat up when they go out there. Then they found out they had to replace the whole electrical panel, so they did that as well. But he won the last heat, and of course, staring at him across the way was Dave Vilwalk, and the oh boy Alberto's in this one too. This is stacked. You're right.
I think the word is very well used, staring at them across the way. We showed you the cutter boat as well, and here are the rest in this Heat 3A. Graham Trucking, Jimmy Shane, he's got a win under his belt today after a big win in Tri-Cities. John Zimmerman, who's given the oohs and ahs from the sidelines here, as folks love his driving. And then, of course, the oh boy Alberto, Steve David. So this race is really loaded. They are all there. And as you can see, they are now slowing up to get themselves into position. Patrick, you've got the fastest boats in here and some of the most talented drivers as well.
Very interesting, though, in 3A and 3B, we find out who's in the final with Qatar, with Graham Trucking, with Alberto, and Seattle Suntan with the best chances. Runner-ups, kind of. They got to go fast is Fox Plumbing with Greg Hopp. And a couple also a good chance, Red Dot, Jeff Bernard, Albert Lee Appliance, and Mr. Julio with Mark Evans. They hope to make that final. This is critical.
It really is. All right, welcoming in everyone on KairoTV.com all around the world. As always, here is our voice of Unlimited Hydroplane Racing, Mike Fitzsimmons.
Thank you, Stephen. They got through that score-up buoy just fine. Oh, the timing was good. A couple of these guys need some points. And let's remember, this is the first time that Vilwalk and Steve David meet each other in this Albert Lee Cup at Seafair, and right at the moment, smoking up the outside is the oh boy Alberto trying to push to the front inside of the Alberto. No, just slightly outside, beg your pardon, of the Alberto. You have the Qatar. They're all going to be real tight into that corner. The Peterson May has the inside. The second lane is Alberto. The third lane is going to be the Qatar, as you see, as they arc around that upper corner up by the Mercer Island floating bridge to come down here. And this is going to be a drag race to the line. You have the possibility of a gun jump, but they're perfect as far as their timing as they come down. Looks like Steve David is putting his foot in it now to try to lead them, and I think we're going to get across the line with a legal start without any problem. And here they come, and it is Steve David across the line, and the oh boy Alberto out front, and the Qatar just to his left is starting to charge down into that lower corner as well, and the traffic is getting thick down there, Chip Hanauer.
Well, once again, Dave Vilwalk was late. He's on the outside there in the white boat. But again, he's got a lot of boat speed. It's okay, he can get away with that in these elimination heats, but he cannot get away with being that late when we get to the final.
And the first question to be asked is, does he have boat speed enough to get around the oh boy Alberto when he's on the outside? One of the things we're seeing that's pretty interesting is the Peterson May boat has found some beams all of a sudden, and J.W. Myers is starting to drive that boat pretty well. The 9 boat is in the 4th position. That's John Zimmerman as they come out of that corner. Steve David out out front now by half a rooster tail. The Oh Boy Oberto being chased by the Qatar with Dave Villwock driving. In third place is the Graham Trucking, and I'd have to think, Chip, that Jimmy Shane is thinking, I want points, I'm not going to get in trouble here.
You know, Jimmy Shane in third, he just needs to drive around and get that. Right now, I think Dave Villwock's going to do the same thing. He'll take the second. But Dave Villwock's going to have to get in that truck and go, I have to be inside and I have to be on time. He hasn't been able to do that, not only this week, but last week as well.
As we look at the race for third and fourth, JW on the inside. JW Myers and the Peterson May is trying to find the beans to be able to catch up with the Graham Trucking. But on the outside, that's John Zimmerman in the Seattle Suntan coming on strong on the outside, trying to get fourth position. All right, coming down to end lap number 2. And one more to go. This will be the Oh Boy Oberto with Steve David. Now he has a rooster tail and a quarter ahead of the Qatar, which is an indication, just as you suggested, Chip, that it appears that Steve David is going to be able to take this because Dave Villwock does not want to jeopardize anything at this point.
There's something else going on here that we have not spoken of this weekend, is there's a national championship at stake, which is based on points garnered at every heat, at every race. So although this probably isn't going to affect the final much, this does really help the Oberto in their national championship bid.
That's right. And when they arrived here, there was only 400 points separating the Oberto and the Qatar at that point. So Steve David knows that he got an excellent outside start. He did exactly what he had to do. And, of course, they're also head gaming at this point, testing toward the final, because he now knows, for example, that if he can keep the Qatar outside of him, that he has a pretty good shot, although the Qatar has boat speed. They're not showing us yet. Down to the start-finish line for the checkered flag. Here comes the Oh Boy Oberto, and Steve David wins this heat. Right behind him by a rooster tail, that would be the Spirit of Qatar, bouncing about as he comes across the line. Third place, Jimmy Shane in the Graham Trucking. Fourth place is going to be a drag race. Let's see what happens here. It looks like it will be, very close.
You call it.
Very close. I mean, it's
Zimmerman.
just too tight to tell, but it looked like John Zimmerman, J.W. Myers were just virtually in a photo finish there for fourth place.
That was great. You know, racing's racing, whether it's for the front or for third or fourth. Racing's racing. You know, I think what we've seen so far now, Dave Villwock knows he's got the better boat. He just got to get it to the start line on time. I don't think the lane's all that important. In the final, he's just got to be at the line on time. Steve David, I think he's got to have a perfect start, and he's got to be inside to win.
When you compare these two boats, guys, when you look at them, the Qatar and the Oberto boat side by side, is it fair to say something like Dave Villwock maybe has a little more straight ahead, straightaway speed, and Oberto is maybe a little more able to get through the corners?
No, it looks to me that right now the Qatar's got him covered everywhere, and that's the perfect scenario. When you've got good acceleration, you've got good boat ride, and you've got good top end. The only thing that's holding them back right now is getting to that start line on time. And as a race driver, there's two races. My father always said, you are not racing anybody until you get across that start-finish line. The only person you're racing is that clock. Once you do that, then you start racing the other guys. So I think Dave's got to quit thinking about the other guys and start thinking about getting there on time.
And, of course, the other guys want Dave to think about them and them only.
Exactly.
That's the bottom line.
And they've been able to get into Dave's head, I think. Well, what do you think, Mike?
Yeah, I think they have a little bit. I think they're taking advantage of a vulnerability, which is, Dave does not like this start. And because he doesn't like this start, he has found himself out of position a few times. Rather than just attack it, he has not done that. And the other folks have been able to take advantage of that.
But remember, we're talking about the winningest unlimited hydroplane driver of all time. And he did not get to that plate by being not smart. So
on the other hand, though, Chip, as you well know, you were once the winningest active driver, too, but nobody's perfect.
Well, thank you, Mike. And I'll give you that $20 as soon as we're done here today.
So here the drivers come out of the cockpits as they open up and allow Steve David to step forward. A second win on this Seafair Sunday today in heat racing, at least. Of course, the big one still to come, the Albert Lee Cup later on this afternoon after 4 p.m. here on the lake. It is, as Mike likes to say, the race for all the marbles. And there is Steve David. We've got a little more info now on the Oberto boat itself. Lee Stoll.
For Steve to actually get off the boat, what we've been hearing from the crew is that he radioed in to say that the boat is coming in damaged from making contact during the race. They're going to be the first one that is picked up out of the water here so they can take a look at it. So we're getting a look at the sides right now. We're not really seeing anything obvious, so we're hoping that he's going to jump off here in a second and can kind of fill us in into what's happening.
Did you see anybody get that close to the Alberta?
I didn't see that. It could have happened. You know, sometimes they make contact when they're going very, very slow. Mike, how about you? Did you see any contact?
There was not any contact underway, but I do see a little bit damage to the vertical stabilizer, horizontal stabilizer in the back, right in the center of it. It looks like it's got some pock marks, and maybe some pieces flew from somebody's boat.
Mike, let me jump in real quick. We've got Dave Villwock standing by with our Chris Francis.
Thank you, Steve, and the guys in the booth talking about the starts, and we've been talking about that since you've been here. What your assessment of that one? I know you didn't like it.
I don't know. I got run into from the behind. Steve David went up and leapfrogged everybody, and I planted alongside of them, and then a bunch of guys came up and ran into the left side of me, you know, and then tried to gather that back together and then try not to run over anybody and get to the start. So it was a mess.
It was a mess, and
then they said I had a lap penalty, but then they rescinded that. So I didn't try to run. I didn't try to run down the Oberto for about a lap and a half, and then they said, you know, well, we don't know yet, but I didn't know that until after the checker flight came out.
You'll get another shot at him here.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, Dave. Appreciate it. Lee, back over to you.
All right, we now have Steve David with us to explain exactly what happened. You actually made contact before the start.
Yeah, the 11. Not his fault. Just when you go slow, you can't see with these stupid starts that we have. And he hit me, but he's a great driver, and it wasn't his fault. Last time I forgot to thank the people at Park Place Motors. When I thanked Oberto and Sharon and Jeff, Park Place Motors gave me a vehicle to use for the past 2 weeks. They're in Bellevue, Washington. If anybody needs an exotic car, please go there and help them. They have been so generous to me, Dave Bingham and the whole group.
Yeah, well, let's talk about the equipment that you have behind you. You said that the damage is on your left-hand side.
Yeah, the left spots, when they lift it up, we'll see how bad it is. It wasn't bad enough to make me stop, because I'm too stupid to stop. But we'll get it fixed. This team's great. I think we got 3 or 4 hours till the final heat, so Oberto's in great shape. Thank you for everybody at Oberto, all the associates that helped us there.
Certainly didn't slow you down. You've also done a trolling start. We've now seen you do a fast start. Anything for the final?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, but if I told you, you know what I'd have to do.
Exactly. We don't want that to happen. No bloodshed on Seafair. All right. Back to you guys.
Well, there's a lot to talk about in that, and we're going to get to it here soon. A rescinded penalty, perhaps, who bumped whom, all those things to talk about. But in the meantime, at least the unofficial winner appears to be Steve David in the Oh Boy Alberto, and we will, of course, take a look at the bottom of that boat and see how much damage there is. Here they are, the unofficial results of Heat 3A. Take a look. The Alberto, the Spirit of Qatar, Graham Trucking kind of laying back and let the 2 big boys kind of run away there for this heat at least. John Zimmerman and Seattle Suntan and Acura of Bellevue, Miss Peters and May. Those are the results of your Heat 3A, brought to you by Jack in the Box. Get the All-American Jack combo at Jack in the Box.
Heat 3A of the Albert Lee Cup has been brought to you by Bosch and Thermador. Bosch and Thermador not only bring you this heat of racing, but also bring you heat in the kitchen with superior performance, engineered quality, and made in America pride.
Trophies we can present now for the winners of Heats 3A and 3B. Heat 3A sponsored by Tulalip Resort Casino, and here to make the presentation is Juan Ramirez. Juan?
Hi, my name is Juan Ramirez with Tulalip Resort Casino. I'm here to present Jimmy Shane and Graham Trucking with the Heat 3A H1 Unlimited.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Jimmy, your second time up here. Are you going to be here after the final as well?
No, I sure hope so. You know, that's the plan. That was a pretty rough heat out there. A lot of bouncing and banging around, but we got through it. And obviously, I'd like to thank Graham Trucking and Rob with Graham Trucking and Ted Porter and the Porter family again. Thanks so much.
Congratulations, Jimmy Shane, the winner of Heat 3A, sponsored by the Tulalip Resort Casino. Heat 3B was sponsored